All right, so we got everything going. Uh, so this is gonna be Sound Workshop number one. We are gonna look at uh, how to create assets for games and audio assets. One of the things I want to touch on in this talk is how how you can create audio free and effectively. Some things that you might want to know when you're doing stuff. Um, how to name different sound effects. Maybe some creative ways to put twists in sounds. Uh, yeah, welcome to the Sound Club SGDA workshop. Uh, so the program we'll be using tonight will be Reaper. It's becoming more and more to be the industry standard. It does a lot of stuff like Pro Tools. You have your different tracks and everything. The one thing that I like about it, most importantly, is you can route stuff by putting in folders. Whereas in Pro Tools, I think you can do in Pro Tools, but in here it makes it so much easier. If we go down, like let's say right here, I want to make a new track, I can hit Control T, make a new track, and then I can just pull up on it, and it'll automatically go into the folder. So right now, if I were to play a sound, the way that audio route would go from here into here into the master. So if I wanted to only design in this folder or solo everything within this folder, I can hit solo and it'll get only this folder. So when we go to like the gunshots, for example, I have it soloed already. And also for people listening live, the way it'll work is that we have the stream running, and we have the video running. For some reason, when you're looking, the stream will have the audio, so it have to be tuned into the stream. But the DAW is going to be always visible on the video, but the plugins will not be visible on the video camera. It'll only pop up on the stream. It'll pop up like really big. So back to the audio assets. So if I was to work on like a gunshot and I play it, you can hear only these sounds are playing. I can solo again. You can see it selected. So only that will play. There's some other things you can do in Reaper where you can give it different key commands. For example, if I only want this to be selected, right now I have it tied to backspace. Set backspace, and automatically it selects that clip, the length of that clip. If I wanted to render it, I can hit Control Alt R. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but you'll see the recording. But I can render it to a file. Just real quick, no, you cannot. Can I? Yeah, I can do it this way. So see right here that I have the rendered file. So let's say I wanted to name this one like Gunshot 1. I have the master mix, so that's where the audio can come from. And I can get a time selection. So right now, the only audio that's going to be captured will be from the gun and to right here. I can browse the directory and name it and whatnot. Yeah, for Reaper, that's like really, really easy to bounce everything out. So for the actual sound design, normally, in a lot of, like in real life, recording a gunshot is very, very wimpy. Like, if we go to one of the ones over here, you'll hear that it really isn't that impactful of sound. You think of a gunshot, and like a lot of video games or movies are really impactful, but that's only because they add like a sub to it. So we do shift click, and I'm turning off the reverb plugin I have right there. You can hear the sound. So you'd have like not much of a sound. It doesn't really hit. It just sounds like a really wimpy gunshot. But in real life, that's what a gunshot sounds like. It's just one crack, and that's it. So what I do is, let's go back to this one real quick. It's good. It has good body and everything, but it still isn't impactful. I would say it's still, it's kind of there, but not quite. So one thing I'll do is I'll add any type of audio that has a low frequency. So if we just listen to this one, and I have a EQ right here, and you can see that I'm only trying to capture the low frequencies. I can capture a little more. And this is like a metal hit. If I bypass it, you can hear it. That's what it sounds like without the EQ. And with the EQ, it's like a little thump. That's it. So we have that. As a gun, so it needs some type of mechanics. It's not just one shot. It's gonna have a recoil or something. So really, like any type of mechanics to have with it is definitely beneficial to have. So playing it all together, you can hear the sub, especially the sub, and the actual shot. It's not much, but it definitely has a more body because of that lower tone from the sound effect right here. Other ways to do this would be, like, for example, if you have a kick drum, same idea. If you have a kick drum and it's not hitting hard enough, you can put like a 60 hertz sine wave underneath it, and then give it a fade, like right here. And what that'll do is just that area that you see on this plugin right here, just that area will have a boost. It'll give it more body. Now if you go to the other gunshot right over here, we've already heard that it really doesn't have any impact. It's like one of those little popping things, the little tiny firecracker you throw on the ground. Yeah, it sounds like one of those. One thing that I would do is get the sample, go down here. I go down here to media items, and I would lower it an octave. So I'm trying to do the same thing as I did down here to the punch thing, and it would give a little more body. But then I'd use the tail on that. If you add the punch to it, it's still not much, but it definitely helps it. So you can hear the tail on this one. It sounds more realistic, and we have the punch. Then you put the mechanics in. But still, you hear on this sample that you have a little bit of reverb at the end. If you go back to like this gun, it doesn't quite have it. When you put something in an environment, this is true for like brass too. When you put it in any type of environment, and there's a creative decision between if you want to do it either in your DAW or in the game. When you want to have the reverb, you want to actually reverb in the environment you create within the game and put a reverb plugin there, or do you want to do it in the DAW so you can get it over with? And don't have to worry about programming something different in the game. So that's it for like real guns. And a lot of these samples I get from Free Sounds. They have a lot of Creative Commons Zero license. Makes it really easy. If you go down here, you don't even need a gunshot really. You can make it more realistic. But at the same time, if you think of a gunshot, all it does is it's supposed to be a really sharp transient. It's supposed to decay really fast. Using that same concept, you can use like a balloon, like balloon popping, and it'll achieve the same thing. If I can. There we go. It's not quite like a gunshot, but it definitely still has that same idea. We can even get the mechanics above. Yeah, it's using the same concept. We're having a high sound, so like the actual gunshot. We're having a mid, kind of like the more of the body, and then the actual like punch right here. So we get some mechanics. I'm doing shift drag on the side right there. And maybe raise the reverb. It automatically sounds more and more like a gun. In the same process, like what I was saying before, we have kind of like a high sound right here. Then we got more of a body. Then we got a low. And put it all together with reverb. Have the same kind of idea as a normal gunshot. So another thing would be footsteps. Recording. The best way to do footsteps is either recording yourself, or if you get them from online. What's gonna happen more often than not is it's gonna be one big file, right here. It'll have a lot of different steps. When you put in a game, there's two ways of doing it. There's either you're looping it. You're gonna grab this, loop it, and try and have that match the animation. Or no animation if you're doing it in first person. Or the way that I like to do it is I like to create an event in Unity and then have it trigger the function, and then in the function it'll have a thing saying play audio. So what I'll do is I'll get a file like this, In Pro Tools, you have a thing called Tab to Transient. Reaper has it. You don't even have to click like a button or anything. You just go ahead and tab. It automatically snap to that transient. So let's say I want this footstep right here. We can go tab, hit S, and right here I got one footstep. Then I can do the same thing right here. I get another one. In Reaper 2, it automatically fades everything. So you see this little tiny red fade in and fade out. So you don't have to worry about it too much when you're exporting. It won't click. So the main thing with the footsteps too is making sure that they're named correctly. So let's say I want this footstep right here. I go Control R, master mix, time selection. Well, they actually select the time. Or I can highlight. Just highlight wherever I need. So really I don't need all that. So I'll hold Control. Let's say I only want that much. I'll shrink that down to. I only want that much. And I only want this track. So we go here, put my directory wherever. Then I'll do file name. The way that I do it is like footstep. And then I put the variation number and then the version number. And the reason why I do this is I know what file. It's like this big file right here. I know which file it came from. I know it's the first file I'm trimming everything up. Or first try at it. But out of that first try or that first file, I have the variation number. So when I plug in Unity, I have it so that it will randomize what variation it is. And then I'll have it possibly change the pitch and everything too. So I can have everything in one folder saying, okay, all of V1 will go into the same function. When it's randomly calling the footstep for the animation, I know it's from version 1. I know which version I'm doing. If I want to try them out real quick too, I know that I can do you know, let's have another file. I'm gonna call it V2. So it'd be like 01 V1, 01 V2, 01, or no, it would be 01 V1, 02 V1, 03 V1, so on and so forth. That's the big thing for footsteps. Another thing that is very beneficial in games would be looping audio. Reaper does not make this as intuitive as like Pro Tools. It likes having a problem where for whatever reason it will add a few like low frequency samples to the end of it. It's that clipping thing that I was saying before with the fades and all that. If you don't have them, it'll introduce it in here when you bounce it for some reason. So for looping, this is good for environment. If you're doing an engine, like a car engine, any ambience. Really, a lot of uses for loops. So I'll grab a sample that I want to loop. This is one of the recordings I did, just recording the water. But I may not want all this audio, I just want to loop a little bit. So I'll make my selection right here. Let's do a bigger selection. Let's say I want to loop all this. So the way of doing Reaper would be on your endpoint, I would hit F. I go to the end. Do the same thing. Move all this out of the way. And then I would go right here and Control C, copy it. And then Control D for duplicate. Actually, real quick. So I didn't get that side, the first side, shortened down enough. So do that. Reason being is when I overlap them, like 2 units right here and right here, it'd actually have enough coverage on each side. So Reapers, if you can't, in Pro Tools what you'd do is you'd go right here, you'd export it, it'd automatically right away, that'd be a loop. You bounce it, bring it back, then double check it. But for Reaper, for some reason, you'd have to record it. That's the best option. So let's say I want to record the fades because it's going to fade one out and fade one in at equal volume. And I want it on like both sides, both the intro to the loop and the exit. And I want to record it right here. You want to make sure that you select the output to stereo or mono, depending on what you're using it for. So with this one, I'll do a stereo. And I'll go back here, make sure I'm not looping the audio right here. Then I would hit record. Oh. That should be right. Yeah, hit record, not talk. So I have those selected right here. So all I have to do is really just balances. I have the time selection right here. So I can go right here and then name it whatever. That should have bounced correctly. Let's go ahead and try that real quick. Just to be safe. Actually, yeah, so you can bounce this. But to double check it loops, I'm gonna fade everything in. Mute that. And click it, copy, duplicate, duplicate. Now I want to check right here. So that did not work. So what I did right there is recording it to a different take. And go over here and split all takes. Should be fine. So right here you can see the loop. And that's a seamless loop right there. The last thing we can go over would be pickups. And this is the easiest one, I think. It's really one thing I recorded for a pickup would be like an Altoids cam. Really easy. Anything to make a really unique sound, really short. And that's really all you need. So you can have just any type of really short sound. Other ways to do this would be like a synth. Any type of synth. There's a lot of free synths out there, but one of the biggest synths a lot of people are using now would be a Serum. And it just is a whole bunch of really neat things. But I won't worry about this too much. There's some other ways you can do it in Reaper. It won't be as complex as doing a Serum, but there are options in Reaper on using MIDI to create sounds. So you can do something like that. So really easy. Shorten this up even a little bit. Make it really short and concise. Some other very Reaper specific things would be, okay, I got the sound. I want to do something with it. So I'm gonna go over here. Already, Reaper has a lot of native plugins that are really, really cool. For example, let's do, I think they have a reverb. So they have a delay. We can do a delay. A big thing that a lot of people do will be if you have, there's a lot of free reverbs out there. One of the ones on use on here a whole lot would be this one. Gives it like a big room feel. You need to shorten the decay. Another thing with the reverb is you go right here and trim, and it'll show you like a whole bunch of different parameters you can change in here. One of the big effects that you hear more often will be like a tremolo. And Reaper already has one. So right now, we have that. It's raise the decay time. And you can already hear the tremolo reacting to it. So one effect you might hear more often than not would be So go into frequency. It's one of the things you can do in Serum, but you can also do it in Reaper. So I'm going to frequency. You can see it's low. I want to raise it. So what's going to happen is we have the chain right here for the plugins. It goes down. So it's going to hit the delay, it's going to hit the reverb, and then it's going to hit the tremolo. So right here, we can see I'm manipulating the tremolo right here. I can adjust the frequency of it. And then you can get your EQs. I like using Q8, but this is not a free plugin. There are a lot of other free EQs out there. This one just using those so often. So let's say I raise this band right here. So what's that's doing is that these numbers right here are the frequencies. Right here is the volume. So I'm going to boost that. I'm going to lower the output a little bit. I'm going to look at the frequency. And then I will raise the frequency as I go. So I'm going to go here. Q8 would be... We have it on band 5. So I'm going to find band 5 frequency. I'm hitting Control to do this. So after it hits, I'm gonna make a cool effect right there. So one thing I'm doing is I'm using the reverb as a body. Then when you go back to like the guns and all that, you can use the same idea. So if I want to make it more interesting, I can even put like a fire effect in here, or whatnot, or an ice effect, some type of like crumply sound, depending on how you use it. And yeah, as far as basic sound design, basic sound effects, this is definitely a good jumping off point. Reaper, I'll try and get like a whole list of plugins together. Reaper has extensions. I think it's Repack, and it's like over 1,000 different plugins you can get. And they use like a JavaScript to make their plugins. It's like an open source thing. And yeah, I can go on and on different plugins and how interesting they are. But yeah, that was the sound workshop, and we'll have a workshop number 2 tomorrow. See how that goes.